dia, pessoal. Oh, os meus sonhos de ser youtuber. Porquê é que me deste este peito? Hoje. Alô?
I know nobody will go through it, my vision, so I'ma go hard until the end. A show weak, rappers make me feel like I'm an alien. The way my mind whoops and bends.
Hey, you don't mess with me and my crew. We'll leave you feeling like you're the Olympics or the Tokyo Zoo. You'll jump around so much you get crisscross, and my crew is never whack because we stand strong.
I know nobody will go through it, my vision, so I'ma go hard until the end. A show weak, rappers make me feel like I'm an alien. The way my mind whoops and bends.
Hey, you don't mess with me and my crew. We'll leave you feeling like you're the Olympics or the Tokyo Zoo. Don't jump around so much you get crisscrossed. And my crew is never whack because we stand strong. And we made a pact when I drop
I know nobody will go through it, my vision, so I'ma go hard until the end. A show weak, rappers make me feel like I'm an alien. The way my mind whoops and bends.
Hey, you don't mess with me and my crew. We'll leave you feeling like you're the Olympics or the Tokyo Zoo. You'll jump around so much you get crisscross. And my crew is never whack because we stand strong. And we made a pact when I drop
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our February session. I'm going to start by showing the schedule for today. So we're going to start by having the activity plan presentation, which we have in every session, and then we're going to have the Global Game Jam presentations. As you know, the Global Game Jam is a jam that's very dear to us, since it was the first jam we participated in as a group. And last year we participated with 2 teams. This year we got to participate with 4 teams in 4 different sites. So we're very proud and we're very happy to show you what we did this year. Then lastly, we will have a presentation called Why We Do What We Do by Ricardo Grandão and Cesar Silva from Miniclip. And we're also very happy to announce this one. So Paul, are you ready to share the activity plan?
Yes, I am. Can I start sharing?
Yeah.
Can you guys see?
Yep.
Okay, so as Daniela said, I talk to you about the activities that we have planned for the month of month of March. For those of you that are new here, we do this every month. So we pick a couple of gems that we advise you. We don't advise you, but that we suggest that you participate because we find that they are interesting. They are good ways to your knowledge to get more experience in making games. Um, Even for beginners that have never participated in some jams, some are more indicated for beginners than others. But either way, these are great opportunities to meet people from inside GameDev and from everywhere else that's participating in this jam. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the jams that we are planning to participate in this month. First is the NaNoRenO 2022. It will run for a full month, starting on March 1st. It will actually end on April 1st, but then they give you an extra day to finish submissions in case there are any network issues. In this jam, the goal is for you to make a visual novel. Some jams limit the genre of games that you can make. Most of them give you a theme for you to work around. For example, I don't. This Global Game Jam the theme was duality, so you had to create a game around that. Um, and some also limit the engine that you have to use, such as Unity or Unreal or Godot. In this case, this one doesn't limit the engine in any way. However, it's unranked. Not usually jams can be ranked either with a global rank or with individual ranks for art, story, gameplay, sound, etc. So NaNoRenO will run for a full month, where you could do a visual novel, and for use that usually use Unity or other engines, they also give you a lot of material for you to do this if it's your first visual novel, either in Unity or using other software such as RandPy, which is built specifically to create visual novels using Python. So it's very easy to use. Some members in our group have actually used it before, and I think they found the experience quite good. The second jam is the Fireplace Jam 2022. This will run for 10 days, from March 4th to March 14th. Here, there's a limit that each team must have at most 4 members. And again, there's the theme, but the theme is going to be revealed later. You, in some of these jams, you may or may not use the theme. In this case, I think it's mandatory to use the theme. And this one, on opposite to the last one, will be ranked. So you will have multiple categories where your game will be classified by the participants. And you will have that kind of feedback from the community that played your game. Last but not least, It's the Game Jobs Live Parade Spring 2022. This will run for 1 week only. And the fun thing about this jam, it's the partnership that they have with the people that already work in the industry, and they will build a panel of judges to classify the games on top of the community vote. So it's a great way to build a portfolio and to have that feedback from people with years and years of experience that really know what they're talking about. So I think this could be a really good experience if any of you decide to participate in. For the activity plan for March, that's about it. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation. I hope you guys are excited for this month's activities. Now we will move on to the Global Game Jam presentations. Our first team of today will be the Ireland team. Are you guys ready?
I think we are all here. It's me still.
Oh.
So maybe I'll reshare my screen if you give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Oh. So, hi everyone. I'm going to talk about our participation in a Global Game Jam by the Irish Imposters team in a Galway site. Our site was located in Ireland, Galway, and in the beginning it was supposed to be a both in-person and online event, but due to COVID, they could only do it online. They allowed other countries to participate, so we were assigned the site. And now to talk a bit about the way it was organized. Podes passar. Thanks. The site medium of communications was Discord. We used Discord for most of our social gatherings and all of the small presentation speeches. We had a small presentation in the start where we could meet the organization staff of the site, and we could also meet some of the participants. The site also had a Twitch stream where we could where we had some streams about the Global Game Jam and some tips and tricks we could use during the stream. The site was very small. There were only about 17 people and 16, and the mindset was a pretty chill one. Also, there was no much of competition, or it were very low profile or chilled vibe in the site. But it was very well organized, and it was well made. Now to talk about our team. We were supposed to be 5, but
Hey,
unfortunately,
I'm sorry, Jean. We it seems like we're not able to see your shared screen, or Paul in this case. Could you like unshare it and reshare it?
Okay.
It's a
I'm
Discord
sorry.
issue. Oh, don't worry.
What about now?
So for those out there on Twitch, we're trying out Discord for the first time because Zoom was having some issues, and to say we were not ready for this is an understatement. So yeah, awesome.
Is it
Oh,
working?
okay. Is it? So we were supposed to be 5, as I was saying, but unfortunately Pedro couldn't join us at the last minute. So we had me and Barbara in the art department. Barbara is a newbie, and we both were in the 3D department. I mean 3D modeling and 3D art. And we also had Andre and Paulo in the programming departments. Now I think I'm going to pass to Andre to talk a bit about the brainstorm and all the starter ideas.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So the jam, the theme for the jam was duality, and we met a few days before the jam started. to discuss a bit the ideas and brainstorm a bit some ideas and to come up with the game concept. We had some ideas about the use of the lights, for example, a closed space where you had to shoot the wall so that the light would come in inside the room, and that light would hurt your enemies, or perhaps something more towards a driving game where you had to go down a slope and then come up on the other side with velocity. But in the end, we decided to go with an idea based on a terror game. You can pass the slide now. So we tried to implement something that we hadn't done in previous gems, which was an horror game, a bit based on Amnesia or Dead Space. And basically, we wanted to give that sensation to the user, some stress and some anxiety, where he would be alone and he would try to solve the narrative through puzzles and try to survive the situation he was in while he was discovering the narrative and the situation. So we came up with the idea that he would be stranded on a submarine, and that he would woke up and suddenly somebody would start talking to him and giving him instructions and explaining what happened with the submarine and with the crew for it to be stranded on the deep sea. The idea of the duality that we implemented on this game, you will see a bit more when Paulo explains you the puzzles and everything. But the idea was for us to have two dimensions, the real world, and then another dimension where the player could go, and the gameplay would be easier in the other dimension. So per se, you would have to go to the other dimension to solve the puzzles and to complete the game. The duality in it's besides helping you solving the game and completing the game, the other world had a timer, and if you stayed too much time on the other world, you will start to lose the game. And you'd had a lose conditions. So the power for you to accomplish the game is the same for you to lose the game, and we use that duality to influence the gameplay for the player. We also had a bit of duality on the narrative, so the voice that the player hears, the player doesn't know if he's really trying to help him or not, and it will have some duality in that sense that the player will have to try to understand if the person that is giving him tips is trying to help him survive or has another agenda.
So, with that in mind, we had some ideas of what we were aiming for the aesthetics. Luckily, there are not shortage of horror games in abandoned submarines / spaceships. So we had a lot of reference material we could use to start picturing what we were aiming to do. So when we started modeling, Barbara was still fairly new to Blender, so we decided to divide the tasks. Barbara did the base model for the submarine, the corridors, and I did some pipes, and later I continued doing more modular pieces for the corridors and all the texturing, while Barbara was in charge of making some assets for decoration. Now she's going to talk a bit about her experience. Barbara, you there?
Yes. You can pass the.
Sorry.
So I am a newbie and I'm a beginner at Blender. So I saw some tutorials, and João Lopes, he knows a lot of Blender. So during the jam, he helped me a lot. And André Antunes also asked me. Asked him to what he need to put in the game, and I was guided by him too. And it is.
So in the end, the game ended up looking pretty nice, although we'd like to have put more work into the texturing and placement of some assets, but due to time shortage, we couldn't do the tasks as well as we wanted to. but fortunately the game was pretty dark, so you can't see very well. There's some breaks in textures, and it was just a shame that we couldn't put as many assets as we made in the game because of the time constraints.
Okay, so as Andrea explained before, the main mechanic of our game is that you switch to another dimension, and you need to switch to go through the game, but you cannot stay there very long. Your vision starts getting narrower. We had plans to have sounds appear around you or some monsters appearing in the distance, sort of like illusions. But yeah, we overscoped a bit. However, the main mechanic that we wanted with changing dimensions stayed from the start, which is this that you can see right now. When you switch to another dimension, there are some platforms in this platforming section, in these platforming sections, that disappear. So some platforms only exist in our dimension, and some platforms only exist in the other dimension. So you have to change while you walk, change while you jump, and this was really the main puzzle, the main mechanic that we had in mind from the start. Um, After that, we started developing other puzzles that would involve you going around the map, uh, exploring and activating mechanisms, advancing the narrative. Um, unfortunately, unfortunately, we did a bit. We tried to do a bit too much for the 48 hours that we had. And for example, even though all three of these puzzles are fully functional, the one where you have to collect fuses and bring them to a fuse box, another where you have a keyboard and you need to find a secret code, and a last one where you'd have some pipes and need to fix the pipe system. They were all fully functional, but due to time constraints, we couldn't implement the pipe one into the game. Uh, so that's one of the another thing that we had actually finished developing and unfortunately couldn't include in the final build. This is how they look like in game. On the left, you have the player going through an automatic door and finding a fuse, and then you'd have to bring it around the map into the fuse box. And then on the right, you can see first the keyboard that we use would be used to access the next level, but in this case, just will end the game. And in the bottom right, you'll see a number on the wall. So the way that we hid this code was we spread the numbers around, and you could only see them when you use when you jump into the other dimension. So if you're walking around, you just won't see anything. You need to make this jump. So a lot of times the player needs to go really be looking for these numbers, um, and probably have the power activated for a long time, which brings the need for them to try to balance it even more down the line. We also have other mechanics. For example, the visions that I was talking about. We ended up just implementing them from the start. So when the player is walking down the corridor, he'll just see a silhouette with glowing red eyes, which just fades when they get closer. We try to give the impression that uh, but give the feeling to the player that they can't be sure it was really there. But we came a bit short of that. Um, Below that, we also have some cables in some locations that fall from the ceiling, electrified, that when you bump against them, you sort of get jolted back. Ideally, we'd have health, but again, time constraints. Then on the right, we hid, not really hidden, but we have mini maps of the submarine around the level, but you can only see them with the power. Again, throwing into the mix that you'd need to balance this usage. And then the bottom right is just the start of the game when you first use the power, when some doors can disappear, uh, can exist in one dimension and not exist in the other. Um, and for mechanics, I think there were more. In the right gifts on the right, you can also see some pipes glowing in the distance. I'm not sure if it's like this in the final build, but our intention was to have puzzles that you had to, using the power, follow the pipes to find specific rooms. For example, the air filters room, or the where the power outlet, the power fuses were hidden. So that's another thing that we were not able. I'm not sure right now. I'm not sure if we were able or not to fully implement it in the end. But yeah, that was we had a lot of mechanics prepared for this game.
The part of the fuses is implemented, so you need to see the fuses through the walls using the power, but the pipes are just visual assets. They don't use it. They aren't used for any puzzle right now.
Yeah. Barbara?
So during the global jam, we have some moments that we talked with the interview and the other people. Then we have a final presentation with the other teams, and we test our games. And after that, for the votation, we had some problems in the votation, and resolving that, we have the most number of the votes, and win this global game jam in our country.
Okay, so just to have a quick conclusion, this was my second global game jam. I had participated in one last year, but overall, I think it was a really great experience. And from what we talked as a team, I think everyone else enjoyed it as well. It was especially fun participating in another country, and we had really good interactions with the organizers on stream, and sometimes when they check up on the teams. I think it was pretty fun. And Barbara, would you like to just give some of your experience since this was your first jam? Just your overall opinion.
It was my first global jam, and I really like it a lot. I think everyone should participate because it's a really good experience. And I was afraid first because I'm beginner at Blender and I don't have experience, but the team helped me, and I learned too. So I think it's a very positive experience.
Okay, I think that's it for us.
Thank you very much for your presentation. You used the theme beautifully, and I'm very happy that you were able to achieve a lot during the jam. It is very impressive that you had some members working for the very first time and you achieved so much. Are you going to keep working on the project?
Unfortunately, we all are in internal projects, so we don't have much time. Probably we'll try to add some puzzles and finish the game just a little bit, but we are not. We don't have the idea of continuing to implement the rest of the game.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. Thank you anyways for your presentation. So guys, I will ask you now to turn off your cameras, all of you, and please don't turn it on during the rest of the presentation, because sadly, Discord imposes this limit. We can only have 25 people if there's cameras on. So in order to have more people, we need to all turn our cameras off. João Patricio, please turn off your camera. Thank you. So, okay, next up we have the Netherlands team. Hello, team.
Hello.
Hi.
You cannot turn on your cameras. I'm so sorry.
Better.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'm beginning the presentation. This is our participating team in the Netherlands. We were called the Flying Dutch, and we were 5. We were 3 on art department. So we were, that's me, the first one in the picture, Sonia. I was responsible for the assets. Then Renata was responsible for the environment. And then Daniela, which is the presenter here, she was responsible for the character design. And then Pedro, programming and rigging. And then Guilherme was on level design and sound. If you please, yes. So the global game jam, which I know everyone knows it already, but it's an international event for game development to get results in 48 hours. And it's been happening online because of the pandemics again. And that allowed us to participate in the Netherlands and other sites in another countries. So if maybe you can pass, yes. We were, as I said, in the Netherlands because we are so many which could participate in the Portugal one that we decided to distribute and have this experience in different countries. So, next one.
So there were a lot of events. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So it's fine. So there were a lot of events planned by the organizing team of the our bracket, the Netherlands bracket. You can see very well, but we had activities through the whole jam, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There were some interesting things happening, like on Saturday, we had a breakfast kind of tutorial. We had a shopping list that was given to us, and people could go buy the things on the shopping list before they streamed a tutorial on how to do a good breakfast, and then people shared their experiences. It was really cool. We also were invited to speak on their Twitch channel. We had 2 interviews where we talked about our process, what was happening. We had some feedback from the people that were presenting. It was really cool. Now, presenting the theme. Um, it was a really cool theme. It was duality. So the way we thought about implementing duality was kind of thinking of something that the player wants to see the level, wants to reveal the level, but if he reveals the level too much, or if he can see the level as a whole, he dies. So it's kind of duality in, okay, I want to see, but I can't see. Kind of. We have some of our brainstorming there. Of course, it's in Milano Note.
Milanote.
We had a whole board where we just dumped ideas with some explanation. We had some discussions in a team where we discussed, well, everything that was in the Milanote. Just kind of see what worked, what didn't work. It was cool. Then when it comes to development, as was said in the Pedro, thank you. As was said in the beginning, I was in charge of the game level design, so I just grabbed the assets that the art team made and just dump them in a level and try and see how it worked, to see, okay, this fits here, how can the player can find this challenging while having fun. It was the first time I did that. It was a really cool process to see, to kind of put me in a position that I'm normally not in. Normally, I'm the player, just having fun, not really thinking, okay, this has to be in here because of this. So it was a cool idea. We also had people share pictures of their dogs, so we could, well, put them in the game in some way. Some of them were in the board that you can see right now, but you will be able to see in the near future. And we also had a little doggy there just to kind of um, picture all the dogs that were shared. So yeah.
So in the development, let me play this. As you can see from the video, rigging went amazing and there were no problems with it whatsoever. We did not spend the whole night trying to figure out why everything was messed up. But that aside, the programming side of the development went relatively smoothly. There were a couple hiccups here and there, but because I'd never made a character controller using Unity's physics, I usually just I either worked on 2D or I just overwrote the physics by hard coding positions. This time I actually made a proper controller that obeys the physics. So it was a bit of a challenge, and I also fought a lot with Unity's animation controller, and I ended up, well, overriding it completely by just setting triggers for everything, and instead of using their actual controller as it's meant to be used. But overall, although the final product was uh, pretty interesting, there's still a lot of mechanics that we intended to add. For instance, we wanted the picture to be revealed as the player passed through the level. Like, the places in which the character passed through would only that part of the picture would be revealed. Unfortunately, that would imply we needed to add the texture in runtime, which was way too much effort to figure out. We also wanted the monster to be chasing the player into the as an overlay to the level, um, but that was also unfortunately too much to figure out. So we ended up having a couple of unused assets on that side. So there were still a lot of features that we wanted to implement but couldn't get them perfectly. The player was also supposed to swing around, but because that would be a bit of a mess with Unity's physics, we ended up just having him hang out, grabbing the things where he was supposed to swing. But regardless of that, it ended up going pretty well. The game has one or two movement bugs here and there that I'm still going to tune out before I consider the project finished. But I think we're pretty happy with the result on the gameplay side of it. It plays smoothly. There were a couple complaints about difficulty, but that should be easily adjusted. So overall, it went pretty well on this side.
So regarding the art and narrative, we had this. The levels were like three, and they were inside these Polaroids, which kind of represents traveling inside three different memories from the past of the player. And you would navigate in between them in this cork board, where you had these pinned images that would reveal a bit about what was happening, or the narrative, or the subject around what was happening in these memories. So you would begin with the title, then navigate to the first, through the pictures in the board, through the first Polaroid, then get inside, and then to the next, and so on until the end. We decided that the corkboard would appear in a realistic way. Everything was pretty much 3D. The textures on the corkboard were realistic, and the pictures, we even did like Easter egg, which was about the voting day. That was the day we delivered the game, and for that we also used mainly 3D Max, and then Renata, which was the one taking care of the board, made it into Unity. She was very happy about this because it was the first time she could get her hands in Unity. And then inside the Polaroids, we had this background, which was mainly images like very melancholic ones that we gave like a sepia and very blurry kind of treatment for them to be the environment for the level. And then we modeled all the 3D assets to appear there as also the environment and the platforms that the player would use to be inside to go from the beginning of the level until the end. And those were not, we decided though they were be like more kind of dreamy, more unrealistic, more low poly, as the character also. The character was a bit with this nostalgic look and dreamy look, and the character was made by Daniela on Blender. The rest was 3D Max and that. And this monster, this animation, which is here, we didn't get the time to implement. This would be the animation of losing, which would be like a bad monster, like eating everything in this. Maybe if you could pass to the next. Yes, so this is also a close-up of what I've been demonstrating it. So the corkboard on the left with all the images, and the wires would be the wires. There's this cord connecting the dots and the pins. They are the traveling for the camera. And on the right, this is the close-up inside of one of the Polaroids. As you see in the background, there is like this image with a very nostalgic look. And this one was like a classroom. So that's why you have in the background this, you cannot really get here because we are in a middle stage of the level, which is not very bright yet, the whole image. So this is in a classroom, furniture and the equipment from the classroom, like the clock, the ring, the books, and the rest of the furniture in the chair. And then the next, I guess we are finishing now. Yes, you would end up the traveling like hand drawn with our names and to tell you to visit our website. And I guess that's it for our presentation. Thanks a lot for seeing it. And now Pedro will show you our game.
I would love to screen share it with the music, but as a lot of you probably know, Discord doesn't love Unity when it comes to screen sharing.
And we didn't talk about the music, but the music ended up resulting in a good way. Everyone said it was nice. Nice touch.
So the point was to try to get through the level before the transparency on the picture fully revealed it. If you don't, the level restarts. We wanted the player to reveal parts of the photo as he went through it, and then make some areas of the photo like make you lose the game if you found them. But as I said, that was the time was prohibitive on that side.
Não está a câmera.
So it ended up being relatively quick if you play all the way through it, but from our experience and from how we saw most people play, people take a long time to get through the levels for the first time. So it ends up being longer than we thought we would, oddly enough. But I think we're pretty happy with the result. We're all happy with how it turned out. So thank you. That's our presentation. Hope you like it.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Again, I was part of this team, and I am very proud of what we achieved. It was very nice working with all of you guys. And
Same.
well, we will not continue with the development of this game. Maybe we'll fix some bugs. But again, it was very nice working with you all.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
Likewise.
Same. Yes.
next up, we will have the the team working at the Técnico Belas Artes site. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Seconds. Bobby?
Uh, Hello, everyone. The, we will be presenting our Global Game Jam, the game that we made for Global Game Jam. So our team was me, Yara, Noon, and Sophia. Unfortunately, Yara cannot be present, so it will be only me, Nuno, and Sophia. Uh, the game we made 5 days at Mums. Me and Nuno, we made sure of the programming part, and Sophia and Yara made part of the art team. So it was pretty balanced. Uh, you can go to the next slide. So when we first saw the team, we wanted to avoid the obvious dualities, since the team was duality. So we started thinking outside the box, and I was playing with the cloth spins. So that made me think about clothes and putting them out to dry. And one of the situations that occurs for some people is when it starts raining and your mom asks for you to pick up the clothes so it doesn't get wet. So we started toying with that, and uh, in our uh, in our mind, it was a game where the duality was between working and playing, where you had to work by doing the tasks that your mom asks you to, and playing so you don't get too bored. So it is duality between playing hard and working hard. Uh, so this was our inspiration and our design for the game. And now Nunu will talk about more in depth about the gameplay.
Yes, so the gameplay, as Fabio says, there's the part where you need to work, and there's your want to play. So there's two bars on the top of the screen. One is the entertainment bar, and you fill it by playing games, and it's just something that you sit down and do. And then there's the mum bar, which is how mad mum is at you. And this bar starts to fill when there's a task that needs doing. In this GIF, we see the cats throwing up a hairball, and you need to go clean it. And so when such a task appears, you need to get there and perform a minigame. And then after you perform the minigame, the mum bar stays put. Um, you win if the timer goes to 0, which is sort of like mom arrives at home and the house hasn't burned down yet. And you lose if your entertainment bar reaches 0, which is like you're so bored and your mental health is draining, or if the mom bar reaches the maximum, which is that you let the house get to really bad states, and mom's gonna be mad at you, and that's no bueno. So we really wanted to we wanted to make more of an experience rather than a game. And when I say this, it sort of means that the game is not really something that you want to play for 5 hours straight. Uh, in all honesty, it's kind of a bit boring, but that just leans into the theme and the theme. as Fabio said, is work versus playing. And so the mini game is always the same. It's always just clicking on stuff. It's very monotonous, and that's like tasks usually are. Um, and there's 5 levels, and every level that you complete, the next level has an additional task. So the first level is really short, and it's just you wanting to play or having to take the laundry out when it starts raining and put it back up when it stops. The next level you get a cat, and then I think it's a plant you need to water, and I won't spoil the next ones because I don't remember them. So she's going to talk about the art now.
Yeah, as for the art stuff, as Fabio said before, it was me and Yara in charge of it. Basically, the story behind the decisions we made kind of just came from our first meeting, how we came up with the whole story of it being just a kid having to do chores and gaming at the same time. Basically, when that was decided, I just started sketching out some rough ideas because eventually me and the other artist Yara came to the conclusion that it would be best if she worked on background stuff, anything that had to do with background, and I worked on anything that had to do with characters and the stuff that would be uh, on the foreground, basically on the main characters, the UI also of the main bars you see in the game, the cat as well, and some part of UI I ended up doing. Uh, the art style that we decided to go for basically came from Yara also presenting her example of her art to our group, and we kind of saw that she does this sort of like lineless, vectorial, more geometrical types of illustrations. And because it was a short gem, I thought, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go for that. Since she's comfortable with that type of art style, we could kind of meet in between. And I also kind of did that for the characters. Um, and basically she had to do a background, I had to do characters that matched that background. I chose a more vibrant color palette for characters and UI, and then she chose a more muted, more pastel for the background. But as for the assets that I worked on, those are some of the examples. Unfortunately, I ended up having to work more for other stuff that had to do with background because she wasn't as present in the second day and wasn't able to end stuff on time. So, for example, I had to still work on the plant, I had to still work on the clothes hanging, um, but it all worked out pretty fine. Just, I think you can skip for the next one. So basically, another part that includes the duality of our game is the different endings you could get. So this is one of the examples of the bad ending you could get, which is you work too much, you didn't play enough, which makes you fall into a very deep state of sadness. And I took inspiration from these illustrations that used to show up in SpongeBob episodes when he looks very scared, sad, and creepy. And I tried to exaggerate that to the max I could. And then you have the duality between a good ending, which you can skip. Yes, there you go. A very peaceful, cute illustration where you managed to do all the chores that your mom asked you, but you still could play games, and your mom is happy. And I took inspiration from our boy Hookah. In English, I think he's named Kayo, but it's Hookah for our audience. And that's kind of the contrast we also wanted to implement into the game, since we also wanted to bet a lot of the quality of gaming to art as well. Uh, and yeah, I made sure that those two types of endings really contrast Jesus, we're very different. To give also yet again the sense of duality of between a good feeling and a very bad feeling. So yeah, for art, I think that's kind of it. This is a little behind the scenes that my animations. Oh, I forgot to mention that I also have a little bit of a rough time with animating the character walking, and at some point it just looked like he was moonwalking because of an error of the programming engine that just started making him walk uh, not upside down, but
Yeah,
Jesus, how
the
do you
error
say?
was not on the programming engine. The error was completely on my part.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, sure.
Lovely.
Let's blame Unity.
Yeah, no one needs to know. But there he goes, moonwalking. Good for him.
So some final thoughts to close things. It is what it is. Uh, I'm proud of it, but it's not the most fun game I've ever made. Uh, we'll keep working on it just to iron out some issues, but just some hot fixes. Second thing, everything is a duality. This is something that's good if you have a nice idea and you can just tweak it a bit, and it's a duality. See the images on screen. But it's also hard if you want to make a game that you could only make for this gem and really lean into the theme, which is what we try to do. Um, and regarding the game itself, we aimed low, but we managed to deliver something that was really polished, in my opinion. And it's simple, but it's simple. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, for your presentations. For your presentation. The game looks indeed very polished, and it's really nice to all the ways you could manage to include the theme, the duality theme. Also, I don't know if you talked about it, but there's a small Easter egg of the yin yang on the T-shirt of the main character. That's also a very
Yeah,
nice way to include the theme. I
that
think
was
it
something I
looks
insisted on.
it looks really nice. It looks
Thanks.
really nice. You should be proud of it.
Thanks.
Well, now for the final team, I think it's the Sweden team. Are you guys there? Are you ready?
Yeah. Tell me if it looks fine on your screen.
Yep.
You can hear
Hopefully.
some.
Yeah, there might be a song in the background. Okay, so we're going to start. This is the Sweden team, and I'll let Alexandra introduce us. Go
Hello,
ahead.
everyone. I'm going to talk about the team. The team was well balanced in terms of skills, which was great to the members with less experience to learn, and to the members with more experience to develop management and conceptual skills. The team was composed of Manuel Guimarães, Carlos Marques, Lisa Jorkovic, Maria Gomes, and Alexandre Duarte. The jam site was in Sweden, and we were well received by them, being able to talk with other teams and to coordinate themselves and share our progression in a dedicated text channel, which was really cool. They also put random teams talking with like
Zoom breakout
teams.
rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's it for this slide.
Right. Go ahead, Carlos.
So, when we were thinking of ideas for games, I had been playing a lot of treasure games, which were a developer back in the Genesis days that were known for having a lot of boss battles. They made these really fast-paced action games, and even though they were like 2-hour stops, they'd have like 30 bosses, and that's not an exaggeration. So, hence came the idea of making a boss rush because
we don't usually get to do bosses, and it's something that would set us apart, which we eventually settled on one boss because we had a weekend. Another idea that stuck with us was the idea of flipping a coin, because there were two sides. It was something that we thought it was neat and we wanted to integrate, and also the concept of having two worlds that you alternate between. So we eventually decided on a boss battle between two worlds and using the coin flip to change between them. I guess you can move on.
Just one thing we forgot to say is that Maria is not here today, but Lisa will cover her part. So go ahead, Lisa.
Yep. Hello. So our team, I think it was the biggest team. We were 5. There were programmers and a sole artist, which is me. The programming team did really well. Carlos ended up helping newbies a lot. And all of the programming team ended up helping me. Alexandre was in charge of hero mechanics and he was the gameplay lead. Manuel was managing the production and the game, and he made the coin and world mechanics and the little transition to like a Pokemon game. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So yes, and Carlos was also responsible for the mechanics of the power-ups. Again, as I said, Maria wrote the boss mechanics, and she designed the music.
Yes, with many asterisks.
Yes, with many asterisks.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
I was the artist, and basically we just all decided that it's gonna be the art style is gonna be pixel art, which is 20 pixels. And I decided to do two very different things. Yes, I had to draw Lidl, and to show how an epic real world was, how bored the character was, we decided to put a lot of old ladies in queues around him. I'm very proud of the boss, and the programming team ended up helping me animating him. But I think it turned out pretty cool. The sprites you see like on the bottom of your screen are the main character in the second world, in the different world that I ended up animating by hand. And little the little shoes and carrot sprites are the power-ups. Yeah.
And so, as Carlos said, we combined like 3 different ideas, and they were all like pretty different. And so we ended up calling the main character Gerard. I can't remember why. I think it was something about My Chemical Romance or something like that. So Gerard woke up one morning and decided to go to the grocery shopping, in this case Lidl, and he was waiting in queue, but he was so bored that he started wondering what if he was fighting the people that were ahead of him in the queue, for instance an old lady. And so we designed this kind of duality within the world. And when I was making these slides, I was going to say, oh, I could just explain the whole game, but I'd rather you guys play it. And so this is one instance where he flips the coin, and if he lands on tails, he changes the world where he is. Okay. Go ahead, Alexandre.
The presentation went great. It was really well received by everyone. We even had a reply written in Portuguese. The highest point of the presentation was when the audience realized that the songs in the background were Duality by Slipknot and Dancing Queen by Ava, which was really funny. They also gave a lot of compliments about the art. Overall, we are sure that our game was one of the most memorable in every positive way. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was like pretty cool. So we had all different, like 14 different games with presentations, and I think ours was the only one that was playable, and it was in a browser, and everyone could just go to the website and play it. I think most of them presented the game in the Unity editor, so that went out pretty well. And so we encourage you to play the game. And now I would ask each one of the team members to share what they've learned and something that they really enjoyed making this game jam. So go ahead, Alexander. What did you learn during making this game?
I actually hadn't a lot of experience with Unity in general. So basically, I learned Unity from scratch, almost. And Git, I wasn't used to work with Git, and I learned a lot. I also learned how to work with a team. It was my first time with a team of experienced people working on something really fun, and I really liked it.
Go ahead, Carlos.
I don't know. I don't think I really learned anything new. I had a new role which was teaching the newbies, so I guess I learned how to teach.
Yes, yes, that's the point. You learn how to teach, yeah. How about you, Elisa?
Well, to me, I basically learned that gems are not as scary and intense as I felt they are, and that they're pretty much fun, and that I can take on the amount of work a gem requires. So, yeah, that's it.
And that's it from us. Well, once again, you can try out the game, and I hope we kept it short and within the schedule. So thank you so much for watching.
And I hope Twitch won Team CA strike us.
Yes, and try to win our game. That's a challenge.
Worry not. We are on schedule. I think you finished 5 minutes earlier than what we had scheduled initially. So, yeah, congratulations, guys. It's the first time we have achieved something like this.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much for your presentation again. It's a very clever use of the duality theme, and well, I really hope we don't get taken down off Twitch due to copyright.
Forgot about that.
It will be fine. Guys, don't forget to share the link to your game on Twitch so everyone can play it. Also on the sessions channel here on Discord. Yeah. So, does anyone have any questions for any of the teams? We have some time.
I mean, I can ask the game with the boards, I believe.
Yeah, that's my game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wanted to ask how hard was it to, because the board is almost like a 2D environment, right? And you have 2D pictures, but then you have to integrate them in a 3D environment, correct? How hard was it like to work in these two different dimensions? And if you at some point considered like starting 2D and then changing 3D, or if that was something that started from the beginning?
It was like from the beginning we were looking at making a 2.5D style game, and it wasn't as hard as you would think, because the player is still essentially 2D, right? But it's just a 2D character controller applied to a 3D object and using 3D Unity components. It wasn't actually, there was no actual like roadblock there. We had the door at the start of the level spawned the player in, and the door at the end of the level destroyed the player game object, and it just triggers the next one to start the next level. It ended up being a lot easier than we thought it would actually. There was no actual big difficulty. Probably the biggest part was because some of the photos are rotated. So I had to program gravity a bit differently. I had to have a down vector and a right and left vector that rotate along with the player. But other than that, it was pretty smooth.
Cool. I also wanted to point out that because we were making 4 different games at the same time, in the evening, like Friday and Saturday, we all joined in our Discord and played like each other's games, and also played the what's the name, the Broken Phone or something like that, which was like really fun. Like we had like 15 different people playing the Garlic Phone game, and yeah, I think that was one of the funnest parts of the Global Game Jam. Not only the event, but also the being still here in the community of GameDev Técnico, playing and see the other games, and trying to troll them by saying that we found a bug in their game, and then they messaging us at 2 a.m. saying, "Oh, we found a bug in your game," and we said, "Yeah, but that's a feature," and etc. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, hopefully next year, and it's a big hopefully, we will be able to have another presential,
Yeah.
non-online
Yeah,
global
present.
game jam. That would be awesome, actually.
I mean,
Uh,
hopefully in May we can already attend, right?
yeah,
Presential.
that would be great.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think we need to congratulate everyone here that participated again. We're very proud of our participation on the Global Game Jam once again. And yeah, I think we got some pretty nice results this time.
I agree. I'm clapping for everyone.
Okay, so I think our presenters from Miniclip are already here. Hi guys.
Hey, hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Okay, it's working great.
So sadly, I don't know if anyone has explained this to you. Sadly, you cannot turn on your cameras
Yeah,
due to some Discord restrictions, but you can share your screen. So whenever you're ready, you can start your presentation.
Okay, cool. So let me try to put this on the screen. Um, okay. Um, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. So for some reason, I have the top bar of Chrome showing up. Don't worry too much about it. Can we start?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do it. Hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. So me and Cesar are here today. We both work at Miniclip, and when we learned about the possibility to be here today to present something to you, we started thinking, what kind of message we wanted to share today, and what is that little thing that we are going to tell you that perhaps will change the way that some of you look at some things in life. While searching for the purpose of this presentation, we decided to talk about our own purpose and explain to you why we do what we do at Miniclip. Just to take it out of the way, just to guarantee that we answer on the first slide or on the second, why we do what we do. By the way, if you don't like spoilers like me, this is the moment for you to close your eyes and your ears for a couple of minutes. But the answer to the question is we do what we do to align purposes. Of course, this is very vague, right? In some way, it can mean so many things, but we are going to explore this a little bit today. So going back to Miniclip, we are a company with the purpose to unleash the gamer in everyone. And by the way, our office here in Lisbon is actually on the other side of the road. Maybe on the business day, I would be in the office presenting this to you guys. Maybe next year, actually in Técnico. And to be honest, personally for me, it's such a joy to see Miniclip and Técnico so close together, and for me to be here once again. And you may ask, but why? So this is me. My name is Ricardo Grandão. I have a beautiful wife, two amazing kids, and I am a former student of Técnico. When I joined Técnico in Tuxpan Park back in 2009, my main motivation was the fact that I wanted to develop games. Gaming was and still is one of my main passions. I have very fun memories of playing games like Age of Empires back in '99, spending a lot of hours in this game. After some years, some friends of mine presented to me the Warcraft saga, so I played Warcraft Reign of Chaos for I don't know how many hours. I believe in the next year or 2 years after, I started playing the expansion set, the Frozen Throne. And although these games were amazing at the time, these two games in particular led me to maybe a darker path in my life. And in 2006, I started playing World of Warcraft until today. But going back to Technical. So I was this guy that joined Técnico. I always loved to play games. So after my master's, the logic next step for me, obviously, was to join Accenture. What? Yeah, Accenture doesn't have anything to do with gaming. And for me, this was the first time that I was started to look at the purpose of things. Because my purpose since the beginning and since I joined Technico was to actually be inside of the gaming company, inside of the gaming industry. And when I looked at the purpose of Accenture, although they had their own personal goals and things to do, they were not actually related with gaming. There were some reasons at the time for me to just start looking for something to continue my life after Technico, and I jumped into some different realities. So I worked in Takever as well. You might remember Takever, the guys that created the drones for the military. And after Takever, I also joined Santander. So again, another great example, not related with gaming at all. And once again, another moment for me to reflect on the purpose of the company, Santander, and my own purpose, which they were not aligned at all. So in 2019, this was the year that I started to gain more focus and starting pursuing more proactively what I really wanted to do. So I started searching for a role in the gaming company, and there was this vacancy open for a Scrum Master at Miniclip. I was working already as a Scrum Master before, or at least what I thought a Scrum Master was at the time. And Miniclip was very familiar. I had these memories from the past, playing all those Miniclip games on the web browser. By the way, the browser is still up. Go check it out. So it made sense. I took the risk and I got lucky. I got the job at Miniclip, and this was the first time that I was started to feeling aligned with the place that I was working on. One of the fascinating things that I came across at Miniclip was the fact that every single individual has their own opportunity to be autonomous, to fail, to learn and to grow. And this is completely game changing when you think about it. Looking at previous experiences, the day to day was pretty much straightforward. It was like back in Technico when we used to receive a set of guides or rules for the next project, and that was it. And that's for me was the normal way to do things. I would finish my masters, I would go to a company to receive some orders and tasks from my boss. Eventually, after some years inside of the same company, I would start applying for the boss position, for me to be that guy that is giving some orders and tasks. I still remember the first interview in Accenture where I got that mythical question of where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, 10 years? And at the time, for me, was very clear that we only have one path to go, right? We'll be a new joiner in the company. Eventually, we want to be a team leader or a project manager. It was very easy to make that way. So that was my answer at the time. And while this is not the best of realities, it is many times hard for people that are on their first job to understand that they can have their own impact. The result of their experiences and skills can have an actual impact in the company. This brings us to our individual purpose. And what we want to try to challenge actually is this kind of normal reality that we should be just following some set of rules. So what if we could define and have control of our individual purpose? What if we could actually explain and have a clear understanding of why we do what we do? Thinking and living with this in the of our minds is so much powerful, not only for the people, but for the organization itself. We hear a lot of things about organization culture. when we are looking for our next job or even for the first job, organizations use their culture as a way to make connection with people. The thing is, it is not the organization that creates the culture. It's not some sort of machine that is there creating just random values for the company. So what really happens? What really happens is that people are the ones that define the culture of the organization. Yes, an organization can and should do everything to enable the conditions for culture to emerge. At the same time, the company's growth depends a lot on the opportunities given to people to grow autonomously, to let them fail, to let them learn, to let them grow. And the lack of this mindset is one of the many reasons why so many companies fail. Although it's a bit hard to define what culture means, culture can emerge on the most simple things that we do. Let me give an example. So we are crossing a hallway in our office. We see a piece of paper on the floor. We basically have two choices, right? We can continue our path, or we can stop, grab that piece of paper, and put on the trash. This little gesture is so much powerful because it can affect other people that may be watching it and perhaps start replicating this. And this happens because humans are very easy influenced on both good and bad behaviors. Imagine this, you are in a team, you are very communicative, you have very good communication skills, you are proactive, you are challenging other people every single time, pushing for others to be better. Very easily, this kind of behaviors will start appear inside of your team. And suddenly, that team, the culture of that team, is all about communication, teamwork, being proactive. On the other hand, we can see the other side of the coin. Imagine that you are new in an organization. You join a team. It's very quiet. Nobody collaborates. Nobody shares knowledge. The workplace is very slow. The probability for you to be on this same mindset and starting to not talk with others, learn things by yourself but not sharing, the probability for this to happen is very high. Again, the influenciation appearing in here. So we are responsible and we are accountable to help define the culture that we believe should exist in our organization, and our behaviors have a huge impact on it, starting with the little things. But we are talking about the macro level, right? So we are talking about the culture of the organization. But we can also move the same conversation to the micro level. Everything that we are talking about regarding what happens inside of organization, the behaviors that appear, the same principles apply when you talk about our teams. For instance, regarding game development, let's talk about some behaviors that we observe on developers. But before we continue, and this is very important, what is a developer, right? Because there are so many definitions of what a developer is. To make sure that we are all on the same page, I'm going to use my little friend dictionary in here. So in here we can guarantee that everyone is seeing exactly the same thing. So on the dictionary developer, you can even know how to pronounce it. Developer, yeah, kind of tricky, but try it yourself. The definition of developer on the dictionary is a person or thing that develops something. Now, let's take this definition and let's apply it to game development. So instead of a person or thing, we can say that a developer is anyone. And instead of develop something, we can say that a developer is anyone who contributes during game development. We can be talking about a developer that is a game artist, that is responsible for creating all the amazing art assets and all these amazing characters and all the art surrounding the maps. A developer can be a game designer that is responsible to create all the different levels. If we have dungeons, if we have raids, what are the mechanics of the bosses? A game designer can even create the lore of the game, the story that is happening throughout the game. Other developers are game testers that basically, let's be honest, they play games the entire day, right? Not only, of course, game testers are crucial for the success of a project or a game. They develop automation scripts to improve the testing processes by a lot. They are the ultimate safety net responsible to guarantee the best quality of the games so the players have a flawless experience. Other developers are software engineers. They are responsible for creating the architecture of the game, the code that makes the entire game an actual playable game. And we need all of these developers together in a team. And when they are in a team, they have a common purpose. They are pushing for the same objectives. They are on the same boat, doing the same journey. And inside of this team, very easily we see different profiles of people, different profiles of developers. And all of them are valid and should exist. They actually need to exist. For example, we might have people that are fire starters. The fire starters are the ones that like to kick off things. They like to be prototyping. They are the ones that bring new ideas and new initiatives to the table. Let's be honest, fire starters are not very good at continuing that work, but they are amazing at starting things. And because they are amazing at starting things, next we have the amber tenders. Amber tenders are not the best people to start new things, but they are amazing at picking up already ongoing initiatives and making sure that they are successful. Amber tenders are amazing at polishing the final result. You might have some people that their profile is being team players. They need to be surrounded with other people. They need to be involved on the brainstorms. They need to be involved in every single conversation for what should we do next. They are the ones that push for communication, for collaboration. We might also have a different profile, the so-called lone wolves. And these developers are normally very good technically, although they prefer to be on their own doing their work. They are very good and so much needed. So we have these different developers, each one of them having their skills. But the thing is, art skills are not enough anymore. While some years ago art skills were a must-have for anyone to be successful, the definitive metric to evaluate if I would want to have you on my team or not, more and more often we realize that art skills are not enough anymore. If I am a game artist with a very good art skills, but if in the end of the day, in a team environment, I'm not successful, it is not enough. If I am a game tester with very good testing skills, I am very good at making those automation scripts to reduce the time that we need to test our games. But if I do not communicate properly with the rest of the team in order to make the process more efficient, this is not enough. Remember when we talked before about who defines the culture of the organization? People do. And while companies' growth depends a lot on the opportunities given to people to evolve autonomously and to fail and to learn, At the same time, people are responsible and accountable to take this chance, to take this opportunity and do something with it. That's why more and more often we see on the interview processes the focus going more for skills other than art skills. So these other skills that we are talking about, they are the so-called soft skills or human skills, and they are as essential, if not more important sometimes, than art skills. Soft skills, they have a catch, right? You cannot just simply learn by reading a book. It is all about the experiences, all about the different situations that happen during our lives, the journey that we have walked. Soft skills are very hard to measure, yet they can have a huge impact on our performance. And having this in mind, for us at Miniclip, we truly believe that there are 4 different areas that we work constantly with our teams. So let's talk a little bit about these areas and the soft skills inside of these different areas. So the first core area is called collaborate. This area is focused on the teamwork, the collaboration between people. But teamwork is also very tricky. Putting 5, 4, 6, 7 developers all together on the same team, it doesn't guarantee that teamwork is going to emerge. You can have just 7 people that maybe are just working for the same product, but every single one of them is doing their own thing. So for teamwork to emerge, it's really important and high level of trust inside of the team. Because if you cannot trust on the other person that is on your side, how are you going to work with that person? Another great trait inside of this collaborate core area is humility. If you think about it, every single one of us has their own ego. Some have more, some have less, but it exists. So it actually takes a bit of humility for us to understand when the other people are in need of help. A bit of humility for us to step down, stop what we are doing, and help the other team members. And if we put together all of these different behaviors, what we start doing is breaking the silos that normally exist inside of a company. Because these silos only slow us down during the process, and they just add a lot of complexity. So this is the first core area, focus on collaboration. The second core area is focus on deliver. So we want our teams to deliver more often. And with every delivery, we want to experiment. Today, this delivery is based on this piece of contact. With that delivery, we'll be able to understand what the market needs or what the players need. And we will be able to, on the next delivery, on the future, to deliver more value. So we will start moving for a value-driven behavior. And it's all about the quick feedback loops that happen every single deliver. We want to experiment when we deliver, and we want to deliver more value on the next one. This is the second core area, deliver. And after every delivery, it comes the third core area, that is reflect. And this one is really important. After we deliver, we need to be able to stop and to reflect. It's essential that the team members know how to give feedback. Of course, for this feedback to be given, it's essential that there's some honesty inside of the team. And you will not find nobody being honest if you don't have a safe space. Because if you feel from the moment that you share some feedback, you are going to be punished because of that, you're not going to say anything. So for the feedback to appear, there needs to be some honesty inside of a safe space. This is also the moment for us to be analytical about the things that happened. Because what we want to do in this moment is to guarantee that we have all the information needed to make precise measures in order to solve the actual problems at hand. And then very quickly we move to the fourth core, that is the improve. So we want to collaborate as a team, we want to deliver, we want to reflect about what happened during that process, and then we want to take all the different action points from our conversations and we want to improve. We want for us to have the next iteration a better one. We want to take the opportunity of this moment to enable people to become lifelong learners. So we don't fall in the past mistakes and we start using the outcome of past experiences to improve. For this to happen and for us to take the best of it, it's very important that we have a good leadership inside of the team. And a good leadership is not a line manager or a boss. A good leadership is amongst the team. Every single individual being able to push forward. A good leadership is key for us to set the best strategy to improve and be better in the future. And these are some of the behaviors that we want to observe. And all of this that we have in here, this is the heart of Agile. And why at Miniclip do we believe that this is key to our success? If we look at the developers, and if you start cultivating these behaviors on our developers, we start creating product developers. And why is that so different? Because product developers are developers that actually demonstrate all of these behaviors or some of these behaviors. A common developer has a product developer has a common purpose. They are actually aligned with the company. They are actually aligned with the product, with the game. When we are talking about the direction for the game, they need to feel that they are aligned. They need to feel that they contribute and they want to contribute. A product developer is product driven. When we are talking about the next feature that we want for a game, a product developer will come forward and say, okay, but why we want this feature? What we want to gain with it? What is the value that we want to deliver for our players? And actually challenge and be proactive on the conversation to challenge the approach, either on the feature, why we are doing feature A and not feature B, either for the technical approach. We had this very huge meeting. We want to go for the technical approach A. But maybe there's another way to do it. Maybe I know that the technical approach B right now is going to take us more time, but for the future, we will be capitalizing on that time that we use now to be faster. So I want to be proactive. I want to bring this to my team. And I want to have the humility once again to help everybody. Even if I am a senior product developer, it doesn't matter. If I see other person inside of my team that actually needs some support, and of course, if I am able to, right, I will have the humility to stop what I am doing to help that other person, to make sure that the entire team keeps on growing and not only me. So these are some of the behaviors that we want to see in a product developer. So going back to the initial question, why we do what we do at Miniclip? The answer in the beginning of the presentation was to align purposes, and it still is. We do what we do to align purposes. If we check the Miniclip's purpose is to unleash the gamer in everyone. We really feel that we align with this purpose. And because of this, it's very easy for my team to define its purpose, which is create value-driven product teams. Because we actually believe that by creating value-driven product teams, we are going to have better games that in the end of the day will allow us to unleash the gamer in everyone. And going even for a more micro level, comes me, my purpose. So I work for Miniclip. I am inside of this Agile Operations team. My team's purpose is this one, create value-driven product teams. So it's very easy for me to understand that my purpose is to enable people to develop the best games. And now that we told you why we do what we do, I invite you to think, what is your purpose? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. So if anyone in the call has any questions, feel free to turn on your microphone and ask. And if anyone on Twitch has any questions, feel free to text them on the chat. They will be asked and answered.
Yeah, I would like to start out by thanking for this great presentation. I would like to ask, so with this in mind and with what you've shown, how do you see this group, this GameDev Technic group, this youth students group that is trying to make games? And I feel like some of the philosophies that you told us are quite similar to the ones that we try to use, just probably not as effectively. So I'd like to see. I would like to ask you, how do you see this group?
I think it's all about us putting every single thing that we do in perspective. It's very easy for, not saying that is the case, but it's very easy for some people to just get together in a specific room, taking this one as an example, just going with the flow. Although that's okay, and it can be motivated, for example, about the passion. But if we start putting more thoughts on the things that we are doing, if we start looking for the purpose, as it was explained today, the final results can be so much better in the end of the day. So focusing on this group in here, the GameDev Técnico, I think it's all about us stopping a little bit to think what is the purpose and what are the different things that we should put in perspective to come up with the better solution.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, in a group like this, I think it can be easier to do, right? Because we have much more autonomy to decide on what we want to do, what is the journey that we want to make. In a company is a bit trickier because in some companies you have more space to say what are your thoughts and to come up with some solutions on your own and to actually impact the company. Because again, you can do as much as you can, but the actual company needs to enable you to do it. So I would say in groups like this, it's easier for you to actually come forward into impact.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that we should try, and we should always push for that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have a question about the feedback that normally you can give inside your teams. Do you usually have like different areas of development, like programmers and artists discuss their work, like programmers giving feedback to the artist's work and vice versa?
Yes. So we work with iterations. I'm not going to go very deep on the framework. But we have very at every iteration, the end of every iteration of our work, we have a specific moment for us to sit down and to talk about the work that was delivered, give feedback, trying to understand if the approach that we are following is the best one, if on the next iteration we should follow a different one, or if there are small adjustments that we need to do. So yes, the answer is there are specific moments in the end of every single iteration for us to sit down, do that moment of reflect, right? And to share this kind of feedback.
All right, thank you.
Seems like we don't have any more questions, not even in Twitch, so we can proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry. It seems that there's like a windstorm here in Lisbon, so my window is trying to open aggressively. So I'm sorry if you can hear that. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session. Oh, just disconnected. I'm so sorry. I'm having technical problems. And that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next session.
Thank you. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks
Bye.
for the
Bye.
presentations.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Woo! É. Muito rápido. Geral.
From my position, I know nobody will go through with my vision, so I'ma go hard until the end. A show week, rappers make me feel like I'm an alien. The way my mind whoops and bends.
Hey, you don't mess with me and my crew. We'll leave you feeling like you're the Olympics or the Tokyo Zoo. You'll jump around so much you get crisscross, and my crew is never waxing 'cause we stand